What's up, guys?
All right, guys, we got mics on both sides. We're going to open up for questions for Coach Fitz.
Coach, I guess just first off, when you look at last night, you were able to score 18 runs. How big is that to just rebuild some offensive momentum after last weekend?
Yeah, I thought our offense was great last night. We took advantage of some mistakes that they made, which good offenses do. But I thought more than that, I thought our timing was great. I thought our commitment to the plan was awesome. And I thought it was on last weekend for the good chunk of the weekend. Especially on Saturday and Sunday. It wasn't, playing from behind on Friday was tough. Being down that much, you have to bank on a huge inning, so you can't. It changes the game plan because scratching out, when you're down big with 5 shots to go, it's hard to think, well, let's just score one here, even though that's how it should go, and you should think that way. I thought we abandoned the plan a little bit on Friday night. Thought Saturday and Sunday were better, but last night we looked like us, and I was proud of the bounce back, and then not just the bounce back in terms of the win, but to go down early and rebound like that offensively was great.
Just what are your expectations heading to the Sunflower Showdown this weekend, especially with the kind of gravity of the series this year?
Yeah, it's every weekend in the Big 12 is tough. Everyone's good. Everyone's well coached. Everyone's recruited well. No one sneaks up on anyone. If they know who we are, we know who they are. So at this point in the year in the Big 12, it becomes, just really competitive weekends. And then you throw in the fact that, both teams have played well. And so, yeah, I think it's fun. It's certainly good for baseball in the state of Kansas, and to have rivalries that's a really important thing, obviously, in college sports. So I think our guys are excited. Obviously, the crowds here have been incredible, and we're looking forward to a really fun weekend.
After the series last weekend, did you say anything different to the team about what happened, or was it just sort of stay the course and we'll get back going after that series?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of new revelations this time of year. I think there's a lot of resetting and reminding of who we are and how we've gotten to where we're at. And so I think on weekends like last weekend, well, specifically last weekend, I told them, hey, we got punched in the face a little bit at Arizona State, but we just lost a great Sunday game at Arizona State. That was really our first real opportunity to persevere. And then I told them last Sunday, this is a real opportunity to persevere, and we talk so much about it, so we get to put our money where our mouth is and actually live out the things that we value and we say are important. So I just reminded them of the things we're good at, and then, my whole thing with these guys is, in order to know where you're going, you got to know where you are and where you've been, and do those things line up. So, yeah, there's no crushing them or anything. They want to win as bad as any team I've ever been around. So it's just a reminder of here's who we are, here's the success we've had, here's what's made us great.
You guys played K-State in the fall. What do you remember about that game, and how have you seen both teams sort of grow since then?
Yeah, it was a good game in the fall, good to play. They were way different than they were a year ago. They lost so much last year. I'm sure they'd say the same thing about us with all the new guys we have. But they've got a lot of new faces and some guys that have performed at a really high level. It was certainly competitive this fall, and it's nice to have those. I think sometimes in the fall, well, I know a lot of times in the fall, the inner squads they can get a little stale. It's pretty easy to figure out in your 12th at bat against someone how they're going to pitch you. So, it was great, competitive. I thought it gave us a picture of what Big 12 baseball feels like to the new guys. But yeah, and they're a much different team now than they were then, just like we are. So there is stuff to look back on, but there's no massive scouting report from the fall game. But they have some familiar faces, but they're very new like we are.
Coach, Coach, last week against Nebraska, you kind of talked about how you guys were fighting back, but you never had that big hit. Over the weekend, obviously, you fought back a couple of times, and yesterday finally got through coming from behind and getting that win. What do you think that just says about the team, and how can you take that into such a big series like this weekend?
Yeah, well, we've been really fortunate that we've gotten a lot of big hits throughout the whole year. I thought, Sunday and last night was a little bit different without Brady in the lineup. Like that's a massive piece to have out. So, but it also gives opportunities for other guys to step up. And I thought Ty Wisdom last night was awesome, and came up and had a huge hit. It had a couple big hits and a couple big moments. So I think the fact that we've had so many guys be a part of it, you go up and down the lineup and just looking at the stat sheet, you can think of a bunch of times Brady's done something special, and Dariel and Jackson and Derek and Tom. I mean, you just go down and you can remember moments that each of these guys have come through. So I think it's a collective team effort offensively, and the guys take a lot of pride in just being. I don't think anyone feels like they need to carry us. I think everyone feels like they need to carry their piece.
You mentioned Brady being out. How is he doing at this point?
He's good. Brady's been good. I mean, at a different point in the season, Brady would have never come out. So he's been fighting to get back in there, and yeah, he's good to go.
I think you mentioned sort of the adversity, but I think you're saying is if you haven't faced that, wait 15 minutes and then you'll face that adversity. So is this past weekend just that moment for the season for you guys?
I think it's one of them. I think it's it's one in a long. I think anytime you lose a series, it's a really obvious one, and then, I think it's one of the mountains we need to climb. But you got to think too that there are a bunch of every individual on this team has gone through, a time of the year where it hasn't gone well for them. So, I think with baseball, we play 56 regular season games. They play another 50 in the summer. We play a billion scrimmages in the fall. So guys are used to the cycle of 0 for 4, 3 for 4, 1 for 4, and then 5 for their next 12. They're used to that cycle. And so I think part of coaching baseball is getting them out of that cycle and into how do you measure the quality of the bat? How do you measure the quality of the pitch? How do you measure the quality of your preparation so that you're not living and dying with, like Brooks had hammered that ball to left center last night. The guy caught it. He hit the ball 14 miles an hour that blooped over the first baseman's head and scored 2 runs. It would be really foolish of Brooksy to be really proud of the one he blooped in and be mad about the one that he lasered and got out. So I think you have to take the outcome away, but whoever invented baseball or whoever invented batting average sure did a good job of selling that as the most important stat, even though it is categorically not. But it's the one that people still look at and live and die with, and getting guys out of thinking that way. Same thing with pitchers. Did you execute the pitch? Yes. We execute pitches sometimes. We don't execute pitches at times, and guys swing at it, and they feel really good about punching the guy out, and the pitch was at the guy's eyes. Well, that's not a good pitch. Not a competitive pitch. It just worked. You got lucky there versus a great pitch that a guy fouls off. Like, you have to be able to separate the preparation, the execution from the result. And so I think getting guys out of that cycle of and so when I say wait 15 minutes to persevere, it's just the reality of our sport. And I think every coach on this campus would say the same thing. Like that is what makes great players is not their ability to, at times, I guess, to handle success. Great ones handle success, but, they handle a lot of failure too.
You guys have a lot of offensive firepower. So does K-State. How's your pitching staff looking and feeling heading into the series?
Yeah, we'll feel really good about our rotation. 3 guys that have done a really nice job. And I've said it a bunch of times that innings pitched really is the stat that you want as a starter. So, when you look at 52 innings 52 and a third from Dom, 42 and a third from Cooper, 35 and 2/3 from Cannon. Like those are guys that have logged a bunch. And Cannon has done that in 5 starts. Coop's done that in 7 starts, and so feel really good about the starters, and then the back end has been really good. I think we still have question marks about what the middle looks like, but K-State does have a good offense. The good and bad news of it is that everyone in the Big 12 has a good offense, so we're certainly tested already and will continue to be.
How impressed have you been by Jackson Howie's production at this point, especially given that he came up from D2 and didn't play last year?
Yeah, he's been awesome. Not surprising. His power was, I don't want to say power is easy to figure out, but it's kind of easy. It's the one tool that kind of sticks out in terms of numbers. When you have 16 home runs and 11 doubles, it's kind of obvious that the guy can drive the ball, and he's always done that. So we knew the power was there, and we knew the work ethic and the teammate and the all that stuff was there. But it's hard to project out what numbers are going to be in the Big 12 versus Division II conference. But he's been awesome, and he's a guy. If you wanted to model what it looks like to stick to a process, he's that guy. He can get out and his night's not ruined. He can hit home run and his night's not over either. Like, he can just stay really consistent. He really wanted to try to get a triple last night for the cycle. He would have been out by 65 feet, and his teammates were all yelling at him to go, and I thought we momentarily lost our minds. But he can really stay in the moment, and he's a really special kid.
You mentioned that Kansas State offense. What have you seen so far from Maximus Martin? I know he's mid-season Golden Spikes watch list, and he's up there with the high average. How do you approach a hitter like that, and what have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, he's really good, and they've got a bunch of pieces around him that are really good. And just like every lineup, I think you look at, where are the hardest outs, where's the meat and potatoes of the lineup, and how do you attack that, and who are the relievers that match up well. And then, I think sometimes it's what's the hitter's weakness, and then oftentimes, and I would say for the most part, I think most baseball coaches would agree that it's a little bit of the hitter's weakness and it's a lot of bit of the pitcher's strength. And so, hope that the ideal situation is that the pitcher's strength lines up with the hitter's weakness, and you just, they kind of go hand in hand. Oftentimes, though, it's, with the elite hitters of the Big 12 and across the country, there's a completeness to their game where, they can handle ride, they can handle sink, they're good with the breaking stuff, and it comes down to, do you make the right pitches at the right time with the right defense on the field? So, but yeah, he's really good, and their whole lineup is.
The first 2 games of the series against K-State have been sold out for a while. What are you expecting from the atmosphere? I mean, do you think it'll be maybe one of the best you've seen this season so far?
Yeah, it'll be awesome, and it's been awesome all year. I could tell 20 stories from games this year of stuff that I've never really seen at a baseball game, which has been really fun. But yeah, it'll be great, and this is what an awesome experience for our student athletes and for everyone involved at KU, and a great sign of where we're at in the build, and just how much excitement. I think it's a lot of things. It's the excitement for how our guys have played, how they compete, the fact that we've won some games, and then that it's a great venue. Like, it's really fun. Like, they're all crammed in right above our dugout. I mean, there's stuff they're involved. I don't get to watch the games. I go back and watch things after the game to kind of enjoy it. In the moment, there's a whole lot of, someone hits a home run and I'm into the next pitch of where we're at. But you go back and watch it, and it's fun. And there's interaction with our team, with their first base coach. I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff going on. So yeah, it'll be great. I know that we've done some stuff with seating to open up some additional spots, but yeah, I anticipate an awesome venue this weekend.
Anything else for Coach?
Thanks, guys.
Go